Well, I am so excited to be coming to you all from reInvent. This is the first time we've actually done one of our Innovation Ambassadors podcasts with everyone in the room with us. So I'm delighted to be here with you today. And from Mitsubishi Electric, we have Nobuo Asahi-san, who is the General Manager of Digital Innovation Center. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Asahi-san.
Thank you very much.
And also from Mitsubishi Electric, we have Shoji Tanaka, a Deputy General Manager of the Digital Transformation and Innovation Center. Tanaka-san, thank you for being here today as well.
Thank you very much for having us.
And from AWS, we have Richard Taylor, our Head of Innovation Programs from our Asia Pacific and Japan business. Richard, always great to connect with you.
Thank you for having me back. My second time on the podcast, and this time in Vegas.
Absolutely. This time in person. Correct. Well, Asahi-san, most of our listeners will, of course, know the brand of Mitsubishi, but they might not be as familiar with all of the services that you provide in Mitsubishi Electric. Can you tell us a little bit about the business?
Yes. So Mitsubishi Electric is an old conglomerate company with over 100 years history. And we have 9 different business groups. These 9 business groups are categorized into 4 business areas, such as infrastructure and industrial and mobility, life, and business platform. And in that 4 business area, we have such as public utility systems, or industry systems, and automotive systems, defense and space, and building systems, and life appliance systems, and so on. So many independent business groups exist into one company. That's the kind of Mitsubishi Electric.
Amazing. Probably most people don't realize just how broad and expansive the business is. And you mentioned that 100-year celebration of the 100-year heritage of your company. Can you tell us a little bit about how that history and heritage influences the way you approach innovation?
Well, actually, in the past, those 9 business groups has been operating independently. It means a kind of a silo. So they are providing the good product and the systems or solutions for their own customers. And in this sense, Mitsubishi Electric is a kind of a typical product-oriented company. For a long time, corporate executives has been discussed how we can take advantage of this conglomerate business style, or whether we cannot. And about 1.5 years ago, by realizing that the way of digital transformation and need to change our product-oriented approach, we have decided to move to directly forward to customer-oriented approach and announce the strategy word, circular digital engineering enterprise. This means that we will carefully understand the customer's insights by analyzing the collected data from our products and propose them solutions to our customers, including software and service for. This Transformation Innovation Center was established in this April, and is still this strategy throughout our company by changing the company's business framework to make it more customer-oriented from product-oriented.
Right. And you were mentioning when we talked beforehand about the shift that takes in the culture from a manufacturing company thinking about becoming more customer-centric and getting that feedback from customers. Can you share a little bit about that journey?
This journey is, for a long time, as manufacturers, we have been doing either, as for the software development, built a software development or large-scale, the monolithic software. So, but as I said, the wave of smartphone and the cloud computing, that kind of movement that completely changed the way of development. So, flying this architecture, I mean that micro service architecture or composable architecture. So we try to change the development style. And at that time, AWS helped us to use some kind of various tool under AWS, the site, our size.
Right.
So utilizing that AWS tools, we successfully developed the IoT, the devices platform,
Right.
and also a smartphone platform.
Nice.
And also incoming data, we need to analyze that. So we develop also on AWS the data analytic tool. So using that tool, we gradually move to change the product-oriented company to a customer-centric company. So that's the kind of initial approach to the movement.
Absolutely. And so in addition to that technology transformation, oftentimes that human and cultural transformation comes right alongside, doesn't it? So how did you come to work with Richard and the team in Japan?
Well, so after preparing that kind of a platform, the issue is shifting to kind of solutions we should propose to our customers. And what kind of solutions can be come up with from that analytic approach. So unfortunately, we didn't have any methodologies inside of that company because we are always making products. So
Right.
at the time, AWS Japan people suggested me that why don't you take a working backwards approach, which is usually used in even Amazon company.
Right.
So I was so curious about that approach, and I decided to form two pizza team, and then jointly with the AWS Japan staff, and we did some kind of working backwards trial. And finally, that one of the idea actually realized that this paid service was, we named it Miyamon, which is a kind of the software that monitor that old parents living apart from their children. So we're using our product like air conditioners or refrigerators and hardware system. So how mother and father live safely and healthy. So
Wonderful. And Richard, that kind of transformation that Asahi-san is talking about is something we see a lot. Tell us a little bit about that approach and how you work with the team.
Yeah, absolutely. We were very fortunate to work with Asahi-san and obviously Mitsubishi Electric more broadly when it comes to innovation in their organization. As mentioned, a company with so much history and heritage and building fantastic products and still needing to build fantastic products, but shifting the mindset to be customer-centric. And that's not an easy thing to do. I think it's 500,000 people that work through our factories in the organization. And so we took an approach from within our own business where we choose to focus on the customer for everything that we do and worked with these small agile teams known as two pizza teams within Mitsubishi to take the data and identify what were some of the customer challenges that we could look to build on behalf of. And as mentioned, Beer More was a fantastic opportunity to delight customers with the same Mitsubishi quality, but focusing on their needs rather than building on capabilities that we know Mitsubishi have, and finding the needs of the customers that they're serving. So Mitsubishi Electric now moving from that product-centric to customer-centric mindset has been a shift that these two fine gentlemen are now trying to instill across the whole organization.
Absolutely. And Tanaka-san, that approach to innovation, something that you're working on every day, isn't it, as Richard said?
We, Digital Transformation Innovation Center, in order to accelerate our internal digital transformation, we're working on two essential platforms for our innovation. The first is a data analysis platform, which enable us to discover true insight and customer needs. The second one is the Web API management platform, which facilitates agile development by matching up the Web API for developing applications. So by introducing those two platforms among the 9 business units, so they can share the needs of the common customer. And it allows us to understand customer needs from a much broader perspective. So if some business groups try to collaborate to provide a solution for a wide range of customer needs, Mitsubishi Electric will be able to solve our customers' problem in a one-stop way. So that can improve the much more customer satisfaction and beyond what was possible before. So this can, create a synergy among the business group, and as a result, we believe that we can change the reputation of the Mitsubishi Electric conglomerate management into a positive one. So, which has been most likely, which has been negatively seen by the market.
Absolutely. Oftentimes we talk in this podcast about innovation and failure being inseparable twins, as Jeff Bezos calls them. And Richard, that's something that we see all the time, that when we are innovating with our customers or on behalf of our customers, and even indeed at Amazon, that experimentation often leads to failure or challenges that we didn't expect, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, if we're trying to genuinely innovate, then we don't know what the answer is. Many organizations that I work with say that they're innovating, but really they could be running a project where they know what they're trying to deliver, they know the outcome. But true innovation is quite terrifying because you don't know where you're going and you are looking to prove or disprove that hypothesis. And one of the biggest hurdles with very successful companies who are very established is to find a way to make failure okay, rather than saying we need to know the answer before we begin, and getting leadership, which a fantastic job has been done in Mitsubishi Electric, to say we need to go on this journey. There will be some things that remain waterfall because they have to for security and for maybe the way the business operates. It needs to remain that way. But there are always parts of the business where we can look to push boundaries, innovate, and embrace the fact that we might get this wrong, but when we get it right, it could be extremely valid.
And we can learn from that. Tanaka-san, maybe you can share some of the challenges that you faced, not only in the specific innovation that you're doing, but in this transformational journey that you and Asahi-san.
Yeah, so Richard, thank you very much for mentioning that. We totally agree on your opinion that so we have many difficulties of our activity, implementing our activity in the company. So there are two aspects. One is talent development and the working processes in an internal company. So as I mentioned that most of our employee has been working on the development of the hardware product and some pretty much monolithic system with traditional waterfall methodologies. So we believe that the cycle of the rapid prototyping and customer trial can quickly discover the true value and increase the success rate. Yeah. So especially for this cloud computing and smartphone applications, stuff like that. So therefore, it is necessary for them to understand the agile process and agile methodologies. And also, we have the gigantic process of the quality assurance. It doesn't fit to the agile development. So that should be adapted to the agile development as well. Mm-hmm. And the second aspect is that culture. So the culture perspective, we need to foster a more flexible mindset and a culture which embrace the challenge without fear of failures, like two-way door concept you having. So, however, we believe that the biggest obstacle is the existing rules. So over the course of our 100-year history as a manufacturing company, so we have accumulated the many rules.
Sure.
And then I think that most of them are outdated. And obviously, it doesn't fit to accommodate the new technology, new development style, and the tools, stuff like that. So these rules become a pretty much bottleneck to proceed the transformation. And also, the many people have been bound by these existing rules. So, and then they become resistant to change their habit.
Right.
So that kind of a cultural transformation need to be, take some time. But we think that that kind of hurdle must be overcome.
Absolutely. Yeah, that kind of transformation and that people transformation just resonates so much with so much of what we hear from customers all around the world, doesn't it, Richard?
Yeah, and I think I take my hat off to the approach that these two gentlemen are taking, because they know that it's not overnight.
That's right.
This is, I think in Mr. Asai-san's words, this is a 3-year journey to take people on that journey.
Right.
And it won't happen overnight. And in big companies who are extremely successful in what they do, and there is a change required in some parts of the business for operating, it doesn't just wake up one day and happen. It's not a flick of a switch. It needs to be worked at like a muscle on a regular basis. And with the new structure that they have across Mitsubishi Electric for all 9 organizations, driving this digital transformation approach, I think we'll see some really impressive things.
Absolutely. And Asahi-san, I really appreciate also that very empathetic approach for all of your employees to bring them on the journey with you, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm always thinking that it is not easy. So as Richard said, that it's a long trip, and at least 3 years, so we have to be patient. But what I'm always keep in mind, and also encourage my team, is that thinking from architecture. So most people tend to start with the handling facing issues, facing problems, not drawing the whole picture first.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Asahi-san, Tanaka-san, Richard, thank you so much for being with us today to share your vision for Mitsubishi Electric and your insights about innovation and transformation. And I'll start with you, Richard. Is there anything that you would share, reflections that you have for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway that all sort of conversation I have with most customers is that many businesses who have, like I say, wild success, but quite a lot of complexity in their organization, is there are many opportunities to say no to something.
Sure.
And I think my biggest tip to most companies is try and increase the number of paths to yes. The more you can get opportunities to be able to say yes, the more there is chance to innovate.
Love that. Tanaka-san, how about you? What would you share with our listeners who might be undertaking their own transformation journeys?
Well, our organization have just started since April, and but anyway, we organize with very talented people, and it's a completely different mindset they have from conventional Mitsubishi, traditional Mitsubishi employees. So let me introduce our principle. Develop digital transformation innovation centers. We set 12 principles. Some of them I'm going to introduce. Go wild, not miles.
I love that.
So this is, very, very quite, impressed phrase. So, and also think of product launch as a start, not a goal.
Yes.
So this is pretty much, mind-blowing thing. So we, anyway, producing the product, whenever the product is shipped, that's it. But what we are doing is after shipping the product, we continuously providing the value to the customers.
Yes.
So that behaviors is need to be required for us. And this kind of new movement try to be assimilated in Mitsubishi Electric.
Absolutely. Fostering that mental model and that approach, so important, isn't it? Asahi-san, final words for you.
Okay, yeah. So as Tanaka-san said, that we defined that 12 principles. That's also learned from Amazon and AWS. So, I'm so happy that this kind of defining the principle movement is not my order to my team, but spontaneously, younger generation proposed me, oh, why don't you make that kind of principle? So this is a kind of young generation people spontaneously do that. It's great. So I'd like to expand this kind of, atmosphere or mindset to all the Mitsubishi Electric, 150,000 people. So this is great.
Wonderful. Well, that is an absolutely laudable dream. And I love the growth mindset that it has and really empowering every one of your employees to be an inventor and to be customer-centric, right? Well, thank you, Asahi-san, Tanaka-san.
Thank you very much.
Richard, for being with us.
Thank you very much.